Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of When Artists Speak. I thank you all so much for tuning in. If you have watched us on YouTube or you're currently watching us on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe because your feedback is welcome now. Your feedback must be respectful because I can get so not respectful. So I'm asking you to be respectful so that I can maintain my respectability with you. If you're listening to us from the podcast streaming platforms, please subscribe and leave us a review. The best thing you can do for an artist is to leave them a review. I am here today with another artist from an organization that I have spoken to you all about in previous episodes, the Black Art Student Empowerment Organization. And this is also a student at Virginia Commonwealth University, where some of the other artists that you all have listened to are from as well. And her name is Zari, and we are here to talk about, you know what, her creativity, her art, her creative expression. And so I'm going to turn it over to Zari so that she can introduce herself. And so, Zari, the floor is yours. Let the people know a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I am Zari. So my full name is Zari, but I go by Zari for the most part. I am a multimedia sculptor. I have a Capricorn. I don't know. I always love telling people that. I'm like, I have a Capricorn, and I'm a Cancer moon and a Scorpio rising. So if astrology is your thing, hope that was fun for you to listen to. Yeah, I don't know what else I want to tell you guys. I like the color pink. I really like pink. But aside from all of that, those cute little fun facts. Yeah, I'm a multimedia sculptor. I love taking found materials and just turning them into different things. I always thought that as an artist, I had to just buy a bunch of new stuff and everything, and you really don't. You can just use what you have and like turn it into something amazing. And I think there's power in that. So that's my kind of thing. Not only that, I'm also a painter. I love multimedia painting too. I like using different mediums and stuff to create. So that's my thing. I don't like sticking to one thing. I like doing a bunch of other stuff, adding flair to it.
So you like operating in your creativity, which I think most people have become conditioned to following a standard. And so it's really challenging for them to tap into their creativity. So when you're coming out of the gate, just kind of tapping into what's already existing. You're not trying to do anything new. You're just trying to use what you have in you. For most people, it appears to be so unique. And I think it's just because they haven't taken the time themselves to express themselves creatively. Like, okay, so you might not be painting, you might not be sculpting, you may not can draw a line on a piece of paper, but there is something that you can do creatively. You may be able to creatively cook. You may be creative in the way that you speak your words or write. Do hair is so many facets to creativity.
Yeah.
So I love that when you talk about yourself, you talk about yourself from that broad spectrum, but you also don't limit yourself.
I try not to.
And
Now,
that's good.
I'm a little stubborn. I'm a little picky. So if I don't like a medium, I'm just like, I'm not using that. Like I hardly work with wood. Wood's okay. You know, it's not top 10. It's very low on the list. The dust from it, from sanding and all, yeah, it makes me sick. So I'm just like,
But you know what? It's good. It's good that you at least gave it a try. So that's where you got to give yourself credit. I at least tried it because I know people that will cancel something out without having touched it, looked at it, smelled it, and be like, I don't want to do that, right? And it helps you to better define, what works best for you. Because once you become quote unquote the jack of all trades over here, now you're like, what else can I put my hands on? What else can I put my hands on? So let's talk a little bit about you as an artist, right? So when I met you at the Artist Alley event in December of 2022. And I've seen you in a couple of other base events since then. And one thing I absolutely love about you is your personality. I love how you come out of the gate just so confident and so sometimes when people have challenges within themselves and when people are dealing with things within themselves, they have these bubbles where they'll hide. And so they'll encounter somebody like you who is what I would summarize as a bubbly burst of light. And it will either encourage them or it will either make them withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
But what I absolutely love about you is, regardless of what they do, you're going to be you. And there's so many people that have grown up, and they're big grown adults, just big grown people, like, and still they work through this conditioning system. Like, they condition themselves to be a certain way when they enter into particular spaces. And I think one of the things when I initially met you that I absolutely loved was like, and I was hoping, I said, God, I hope she continues to be that way. Like, she only evolves to an even greater person and personality from today. Like, you at the age you are today versus who you are at 25 is like a 2.0.
I
You
sure
know,
hope so.
because I mean,
That's like 5
honestly,
years. I sure hope so.
there's some people who peak at high school and they
Oh
just
Lord.
never get any further. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you see them at 35 and you're like, yo, we're not in the locker quads anymore. What's going on? What is it? Because your personality, I think, is something that's needed in a society where people are literally motivated or moved by the condition of themselves, their anxiety. Like, I know so many people that just won't be because of other external factors. And I think your personality, to me, kind of trumps all of that. Like, I see what's happening here. However, here I am, take it or leave it. So when that was one of the things, and I love, even though I didn't get a chance to actually purchase a piece of your art, I did get a chance to purchase some of your stickers, which for me, I love them stickers. See,
Thank you.
you won me over with the whole 90s motif, because if I could go back there and just live forever, that's where I would stay. 90 to 99, I would live right in that era, all that, the
It was
music.
the early 2000s. It was like the
Yeah,
little.
you had like there was a couple of people in there. I don't know if you knew, that was
Oh
from
yeah.
late '90s movies that are like some of my favorites. Like, I'll rewatch those movies over and over just because those individuals are in there. But I love the stickers. I love the like little confetti glitter
Oh
butterfly
yes, I love the
that were in it.
butterflies.
And I was just like, see, and it was the detail in that. And even that artistic expression, it didn't necessarily have to be a big giant canvas with a whole lot of colors, or
Mm-hmm.
this exhaustive like digital with all of these like different codes and levels and layers. It's just something as simple as this sticker with these colors and these
Yeah,
when you take the stickers out of the bag and you have this confetti at the bottom of the bag that might stick to your hand, or might it's a
it's gonna be everywhere.
it's a good reminder for me. I was appreciative of it. As a matter of fact, when I was pulling all of the pieces out, to try to identify everybody that I wanted from the group that I wanted to interview, I had pulled out your sticker pack, and so I was just kind of trying to keep everything together, and the pack kind of it fell forward, and so I had a couple of little bit of the butterflies on the sofa. It didn't bother me none, but my dog ended up eating a couple of the little
Lord, not the dog.
butterflies. And so when it was time for him to go and handle his bio business, it was little holographic
That is
butterflies.
so funny. Oh
I
my
was just
god.
like, oh, this is crazy. But even that, like, I really do appreciate that. So why don't you share a little bit with our audience, kind of how Zari the artist, how you came to be and like where you are today, and then we can kind of segue into what you're evolving into and what's next for you. So why don't we hear a little bit from you about you?
Okay. I do want to touch base on some things that you said that I noticed, and I was like, okay. So when it comes to like my personality, I'm actually really shy. I'm actually, and I know when I tell people that, they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm just like, I'm actually a really anxious person. So a lot of the times, the personality thing is definitely who I am. It's definitely who I am. But it's also, wow, the lights. They're the lights are censored and I haven't been moving. But it's also like this. Inside, I'm just like so scared and nervous. I'm just like, hi. And I try to push it away. And I'm just like, all right, we're gonna still communicate. We're still gonna have a really great time, because like what Rihanna says, she says she just pretends. She said she's just pretending. She said she could be in the bed just crying. So I'll be like, all right, I'm nervous right now. Maybe I don't want to be here right now, but I am here. So I gotta be here. So I just thought that was funny because nobody suspects that. They're always just like, what? You're shy. What are you talking about? I'm just like, yeah, I actually am. I'm really anxious as a person. Also, to talk about details, I pay attention so much when it comes to detail. Like when it comes to having a vision for me, I always just have this, I'm not going to say completely clear vision of how I want things to go, but clear enough to the point where I can be like, okay, this matches, this doesn't match what I'm like going for. Like I'm very great at creating spaces. I noticed that about myself, that if there's an emotion that I'm trying to evoke, I know how to do that. Like I don't know how I know, but I know. I'd be like, okay, so when I look at this, how does this make me feel? So a lot of it is like self-based, but I'm human just like everybody else. I don't think anybody's too off from what I feel. So it's like if this is something that I would feel like kind of disgusted by, is this what I'm going for? Is this not what I'm going for? Kind of thing. So I always like do this kind of back and forth thing and really just like check in with myself with like, what does this thing in particular give off? Yep. As for me as an artist, Zari the person and Zari the artist are actually two different people, I feel. We're like two different sides of the same coin? Two different sides? Yeah. I think that's the saying. I hope.
Two sides of the same coin.
There we go. I was like,
That's great. You got it.
you could be listening to this like, what is she talking about? But yeah, because like my art, it's usually inspired from inside. And what I'm feeling inside, you can't always see outwardly. Like I'm not always putting that out there, you know? So when it comes to my art, a lot of times I am pulling from a deeper place inside of me. Sometimes I get really political with my art. Sometimes I just do it for fun. Sometimes it's kind of experimental. It really all depends on the project at hand. When it comes to like political art, that can be kind of tricky because it's politics, of course. I still like to pay attention to detail and paying attention to the kind of message that I'm trying to send, the kind of emotions that I'm trying to evoke and stuff like that. I don't know what else to say about that, honestly. I know I am, like I said, pulling from a different part of me because for me, art has always been my form of expression. So I feel like that's why that happens, because it's the way that I express myself. I'm not great with words all the time. Sometimes either I'm saying too much or not enough. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like when I'm doing art and the purpose of the art is to have a message, that I say it pretty well.
Well, if it's any consolation, you're doing a good job with your words
Thank
today. You're doing a very
you.
good job with your words today. I feel like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to deal with my animal here who decided to get tangled up in the laptop cord. So if you hear scratching noises in the back, I do not have anybody in captivity. It's the animal. Um,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this dog is ridiculous. He's 15 years old, and he is just, I don't know. He says, "Listen, I'm old. I don't care about anything."
That's how
But
it be.
one of the things I wanted to touch on that you mentioned was, producing from within.
Mm-hmm.
I don't so much think of that as being self motivated as much as it is like that's what people would want. We would want the expression of you because it's too many people out here expressing what they think people would receive, what
Mm-hmm.
they think people want. Because art itself is subjective. And so the
Yeah.
best place to produce from is within yourself. If you try to put something out there, like say, for example, like I do poetry, and I know some phenomenal poets. I mean, poets that are literally living their day to day, doing their craft. They can write a book and sell, make the New York Times top seller list tomorrow. Whereas for me, selling 100 books might take 4 years, and that's fine because I had to realize something. I have to always answer the question of why am I doing it?
Right.
Do I want it to be well received? Yes. Do I
Of
want an
course.
audience? Do I want a community? Absolutely. But at the very core of why I do what I do, it's because number one, if I don't do it, I'm just not going to be able to sleep at night. Like it's going to keep me up because I know you should have put that poem out. You should have wrote that book. You should have recorded that CD. You should have did, regardless of if I'm going to be like the next man, if I'm going to show up on, if I'm going to make it in the spoken word category on the Grammys. None of that matters. What matters is doing what I need to do so that I can move on to the next phase of whatever it is that I'm supposed to move on to. I don't want to be the reason why I get stuck in a specific place. And so I think you mentioning that, that's even more going to draw people because you are doing it from an original place. Think about like today, right? So I know that you're in your early 20s. So there's a lot of things that you haven't you haven't witnessed yet, or you've
Yeah.
witnessed it. But like, so for me, I'm 45 years old. There are movies and music that was out, years ago that now people are doing covers. They're rebooting movies. And I'm like, can you not reboot this? Can you not, like,
Yeah.
these people were teenagers when I was watching it. I don't want to see them in their 40s and 50s trying to don't do this. Like, everybody's all excited about this reboot of Friday. I don't want to see
There's
Smokey.
a Friday reboot?
They're trying, and I'm against it. I'm
We
like,
need new things. I'm so tired of seeing remakes. I don't want it. I just want new stuff. I've seen it. I don't want
I'm
it
over it. I don't want it. Like, please, I'm begging y'all, please don't. I don't know
It's
whose
so funny.
ears this might get to, but please don't do a Friday reboot. Thank you. I don't want to
Oh,
see
there's no need. No one's asking for that.
no
What?
one. And so I feel like interviewing all of the artists that I'm going to have the opportunity to meet on this platform, it's just really encouraging. It's really refreshing. If
Mm-hmm.
I have anything that I would even offer to any of you, it would be please keep being yourself. Yes, I know there are going to be instances where you're just going to feel like this is not working out for me. I'm going to try this over here, but I promise you, just stay at the core of who you are because as you can see, nobody has any creativity. They're just out here rebooting everything, remixing everything. No, thank you. So now I want to kind of segue into what's next for Zari.
Ooh. I wish I knew. um, you know what? The possibilities are endless. And it is something that I definitely have to start truly thinking about. Because, like, of course I'm going to do art, but it's like, what's the plan for that, Like you said, I'm in my early 20s. I'm just like still trying to figure things out because it was just like the transition of going straight from high school to college to now knowing that I have a year and a half. So it's like I just got situated with college and now it's like now I have to go and get situated with the real world, which I used to hate when people said there. I was like, it's all the real world. This is all real. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I was wrong. Because then you got bills, you got groceries, you gotta make car payments, you gotta do all this other stuff. It's just like a bunch of things that you're trying to navigate in one. And then also like trying to figure out like your career. Because there's a lot of emphasis put on what are you gonna do in your career. Like it's a very work orientated world. Yeah. And honestly, it matters. It does matter. I'm still trying to figure out who I am as a person. And so then like also having that to think about along with what career I want I want to pursue, and then thinking about who I am as an artist also. So you have like all these things. It's just like so much. But from what I can't include, I'm thinking I know I definitely want to do more galleries. I definitely want to do more galleries. I definitely want to put my work out there, communicate more, network more. Um, the way my mind just went blank. That's so funny. What else? I don't know.
Well, I'll say this: take advantage of where you are, because Richmond now, and I've mentioned this on our previous artist interview. Richmond, when I was growing up, I grew up maybe about 35 minutes outside of Richmond. I lived in Petersburg.
Um,
Um, and Richmond for me was, growing up where I was, Richmond was like, oh, that was your way to get away. Now, what Richmond has evolved into is they're trying to make it more art inclusive, less factory oriented, because I don't know if you can see from the historical nature of Richmond. Richmond was a factory town, Petersburg was a factory town. So, like places like Philip Morris and all of that, those warehouses and stuff, that's really where many of them got their start. And so I would say for the time that you're there, take advantage of where you are,
yeah.
And it's totally okay, because I'm going to tell you, what you want to do at 20 ain't going to be what you want to do at 25. Ain't even going to be what you wanted to be when you're 25. Then what you wanted to do at 25 is just going to be different at 30. And so I think that's why you should keep yourself in that creative flow. And you're absolutely right about the society we live in is so conditioned to just work, 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 work.
Mm-hmm.
And people become so overwhelmed. I think the biggest and best thing you can do for yourself, number one, and if somebody had given me this advice at 21, I probably wouldn't have made the mistakes that I made in my life to get to the point that I'm at right now. And I would say, identify what you want for who you are right now,
Mm.
right? I'm not saying don't think about the future, but it ain't a whole lot you can do about the future except
Right.
for, and what happens in the future is truly predicated on what you do right now. So what does Zari want right now, right? And when you're thinking about like career, think about your career from the creative space, because it took me years. I'm serious. It took me so long. I did all of these odd jobs. It was so weird. Like, I worked at Staples. I worked at maybe 4 of the 6 big fast food restaurants: Burger King, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, and
Um,
Wendy's. I was a telemarketer. I did reception work, and then finally I found software application work, and I like it. Now my husband will look at the screen and be like, "Mm-mm." My kids will look at the screen and be like, "Nah, you can't be fulfilled by this." But for me,
that's funny.
for real, that's what they
That's
do.
that's how I be feeling when I was doing my coding homework. I was like, okay, I guess.
Hmm. But see, for me, it allows me. I'm limited in what I'm able to do as far as creatively, but I can work by myself. I don't really have to be bothered with a whole bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
I put out what I need to put out. I do whatever collaborating I need to do to make the product be what it is, and then that's done. And then I can move on to the next thing. And I can still use the skills that I need to constantly develop, which is I always want to develop my writing. I always want to develop my ability to communicate. I always want to develop my ability to collaborate. So that,
Mm-hmm.
it's that constant learning journey, but I'm still working and doing whatever I need to do. Right. So I have that balance. And then when I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock, and I can do things like this. I can, create opportunities for people, get
Mm-hmm.
that art fix that I need, just, doing these things creatively outside of logging onto my work computer and doing that every day. So I would recommend you take some time to really think about what you want, and don't filter it through what other people, oh, well, you should consider it, because that's going to come. I don't care what you decide to do. Somebody's going to have an opinion. Somebody's going to have
Mm-hmm.
a recommendation.
Always.
I'll never,
Mm-hmm.
to the day, when you make the decision, you are the only person that's got to live with it, which is why you should put more weight on what you think would work best. And I'm not saying don't get support, because like one of the things that I want to talk about too before we conclude this is community. It's so important to surround yourself with the right people. And
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you that at 20, 21 years old, baby, you just gonna find them and they're gonna be there. No, you're gonna go through what's called, I like to call it a people cycle. You know,
Oh.
these people are gonna be here and you're gonna be like, you are my forever person. I love you. And then something's gonna snap in their brain and you're gonna be like, now how did I miss that? I'm gonna have to let you go. But I
It
do,
happens.
it
It
does
does
happen.
happen.
But the thing is take away what you need to take away from those relationships, from those exchanges, from those engagements. Because I'm not mad at anybody that let go of me or I let go of them, because I learned something later in life. But when I was young, I was just mad. And thank God it wasn't social media when I was y'all's age, because Petty wouldn't even describe the way you would literally, I would be walking around and you would be like, her name isn't Stacy, her name is Subliminal, because I would be taking shots every chance I got. I did not like to get my feelings hurt. I did not like for people to
I
play
don't
with
like to
me.
get my feelings hurt either. Don't hurt. Don't do that.
So
Don't
yeah,
do that
so
now.
I if I could tell you anything, I do want to make sure that I belabor this point. You're on the right track. Might not feel like it, but you are. You really are. I'm not selling you wolf tickets. You are on the right track. You're on the right track. And I do want to touch a little bit on your community, right? So when I initially met you, I met you and Layla at the same time having a table. And I love the personality and the dynamic between the two of you. I love that. So why don't you talk a little bit, maybe for even someone who's listening who may be, looking to venture out and tap into their own creative expression. Why don't you talk a little bit about the importance of the community and even how you're building a community for yourself?
That is so important. You might want to think you're an island, you're a lone wolf, you're a popular loner. Be for real. You need people. And that might hurt your pride a little bit. Go ahead and swallow it. And it's probably a lot to swallow. Get you some water, but you got to swallow your pride. You need people. Having people, I'm not going to lie. If you're one of those people that are just like, oh, I don't need anybody, I can do it all on my own. I used to be like you. It's okay. I thought that I could just do it all by myself. I didn't need anybody. And I was doing pretty well. I was. But you have to understand that you, at the end of the day, you're a human. We desire to be around people, to connect with people. We are I forget like the actual term for it, so I'm gonna just keep saying that we, that connection, that community, but we desire that, whether or not you would like to admit that or not. Having a group of people that you can lean on and that you can trust is so important, because if you don't open yourself up to that, you will feel alone. You will feel alone and you will get down and you ain't gonna get out of the bed no more. You gonna stop eating, you ain't gonna shower, you gonna stop drinking water. You're gonna be up in the bed, hungry, dehydrated, and stinking. And it's okay. It happens. It's life, right? But you have to understand that you gotta lean on somebody that does not make you weak. Because I'm gonna tell you, being a part of base was one of the best things for me. Finding that community of people that looked like me and understood me, and being a part of eBoard was even better experience. I call those guys for everything. We lean on each other. It's not like everyone's just putting one thing on one person, or we're all just like, we're not treating each other like therapists necessarily. But it is nice to have people to talk to. You have people that check up on you. Don't act like y'all don't like when people just be like, hey, you okay? You all right? To just check on you. Or have friends that'll be like, hey, you want to go this place? You want to do this? Having people around you that are supportive and that are building you up. If you thought you were doing good, you're going to do great. You're going to do great. Because What happens when there's people around you that aren't doing like that aren't building you up, that are just like they don't care about you? What happens to you? Your mental health and everything else just start going down the drain. You cannot solely just lean on yourself.
Yeah.
Cause sometimes you just gonna dig yourself in a deeper hole. You gotta. I know it's hard. I know it's better said than done, but you gotta learn how to trust other people. You gotta learn how to be okay with trusting other people and allowing that community.
Yeah.
Cause there's bad people. I'm not gonna let there's
Listen,
not. There is, but there's also good people. There's
there
also
are
good
there
people
are
that
good
want to see
people.
you win.
There are good people. I absolutely agree with you there. I think when you allow yourself the opportunity to, let people in,
Mm-hmm.
it builds your strength in the area of recognizing who's good for you and who isn't, and
Yeah.
who you're good for and who you're not good for.
You cannot avoid your way out of life. You cannot avoid your way. I had to learn that. You cannot avoid your way out of life. You got to experience something. You got to make some mistakes.
You do. You do. I think one of the biggest things, like, I can remember thinking about this, of course, as I got down the line. Like, what do you do? Like, you kind of got to break that cycle of, I wish somebody would have told me this. I wish somebody would have told me this. And then you just got to get bold and start telling people, listen, nobody told me this, so I'm going to tell you this. And hopefully it'll save you some challenges. Nobody told me this. And so that's what I've started doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, I'm not just going to run up on people and just give my unsolicited whatever. I'm going to make sure it's conducive, that they're open. But again, I feel like for those of us that might be living out what's considered the future state for, current generations, I think it's very important for us to say, hey, if I can help you avoid certain pitfalls, consider this. Not, you should do this because if you don't, you're going to fail.
Right.
No, consider this. Take this into consideration, because what we do have to recognize is, like you said, you have to live. You have to live out your own life's journey and make your own mistakes and all of those things. And so, I think that's great for you, for somebody who declared to be shy and to have struggles with anxiety. Baby, listen, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm gonna need you to keep doing it. And for anybody that is struggling with anxiety and sort of that introvert shyness where you feel like you're just better alone, take example. Because I mean, and because Zari is really, she really is a absolute pleasure to be around. I've only been around her in like 3 instances, and they were all art related events. But I don't feel like who she was in those art related events is far from who she is if I ran into her on East Broad Street.
What is this, bro?
And that's important. I think that's just important. I think it's really important that you learn now as a young adult how to walk fully in yourself, so that you won't be 35, 40, still trying to peel off the mask and it, be
It's a
all.
process. We're still going through. We still fighting the challenges of it, but we gonna be all right. We gonna be all
So,
right.
so I know we talked a little bit before we started the recording. You're going to be working on, at some point, you're going to be working on getting something so that people can kind of see your stuff, just kind of something to put out there for people to see. Just take a little bit of a social media hiatus, and I'm never ever mad at that, because social media can be,
Very toxic. It's just like this
it's,
crazy cycle.
it's like if you ever walked outside and accidentally walked into a spider web, and you'd be like, it's all in my face, all in my eyes, and all in my
Oh Lord, I be running.
did it get in my mouth? So I can respect that she's taking, but she is working on some things for herself to establish herself. So that when we find out more about it, I'll make sure that I get this out to the audience. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit more, are you open for commissions right now? It's okay if you're not. It
I
is
will
okay
say
if
yes.
you're not. You'll say yes. Okay.
I will say yes.
Share something with me when we disconnect so that I can put a way for people to get in contact with you. I put it in the descriptions, for people so that they can get in contact with you.
All right.
You can make a little money. Yeah, we love the art and the creativity of it all, but it's something about yielding a little fruit from your toil. Take the money.
I will say that I may not be taking sculptorial
Oh yeah,
um,
that's a lot of
commissions.
yeah.
It
That's
really depends. It really will depend. But if you have an idea, reach out. We'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. But I'm definitely taking painting um, commissions. So
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Like I said, anything, we can talk it out. We can talk it out. Hit me up. Hit me up. Let me know. Let me know something.
We'll get a contact email for you, and if you, like I said, if you're listening to this broadcast from one of the podcast platforms, please read the description, and that's where you will find the contact information for Zari. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we'll make sure to have it in the description of this video. So, Zari, I want to thank you for the time that you took out to be here with me today. And I appreciate you being fully yourself and fully engaged. And I hate to have to kind of give that disclaimer, but I think, again, sometimes we're conditioned to be on your best behavior, and sometimes your
Yeah.
behavior isn't exactly who you are. So I appreciate that. I wish you nothing but absolute success. I just cannot wait to see what lies ahead for you and for your peers. And so, if you ever need anything, When Artist Speaks is here for you. So thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back with some other artists. And if you have a suggestion for anybody you want to see on the show, please hit us up. SimplyStaceyPoetry@gmail.com. And I will make sure to get that person on so we can learn a little bit more about them. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Y'all take care.
Bye.